Hello everyone and welcome to round 7 of the Grenke Chess Classic. This is the second half of the tournament and now we're gonna have all the same pairings only with colors reversed. And we have Magnus Carlsen versus Richard Rapport. Magnus defeated Rapport in round 1 with the black pieces and now it's Rapport's opportunity to strike back also with the black pieces. Now before we get to the game, and it's very interesting because it's the Benoni and here Magnus will be playing against the Benoni, whereas in the previous video where Vincent Keimer was white, Magnus played the Benoni and delivered that beautiful victory. So now we will get to see how Magnus plays when someone plays the Benoni against him. And also, I would like to invite everyone to check out the first link in the description below. It's sort of a trailer to this tournament, the biggest tournament in the world, the Grenke Chess Classic and Open, created by the organizers. It's a very nice video, lasts like a minute and a half, so I invite you to check it out. It features many cool footage, such as this one, for example, just to give you an example. So a lot of high quality footage with cameras, with drones, and with some very high quality equipment. So I do urge you to check it out. But now let's check out the game, as that's what we are here for. Magnus with the white pieces opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6, pawn to c4, and pawn to e6. Preparing to go for the Nimzo Indian, perhaps, if knight to c3 is played. But Magnus goes for knight to f3. He goes for the anti-Nimzo, and we have pawn to c5, and we will reach the Benoni only through a bit of a different move order. d5, d6, knight to c3, and now we have a trade, and we have a standard modern Benoni position. And I probably mentioned this maybe in some older videos, but they say that Benoni means a son of sorrow in Hebrew. There's no real source why they would claim this, but there is a source, and it says so according to a manuscript from 1825 by Aaron Ranganu. The word Benoni means son of sorrow in Hebrew, and they say that the author suffered from depression and studied the openings beginning with the moves d4, c5, and then d5, sort of the old Benoni, sort of as a refuge from his sadness. But then in the early 19th century, it also has been claimed that the opening has been named after a player actually named Benoni. So there are, conflicting stories, as they are in everything, but yeah, it's a really cool name, Benoni, Son of Sorrow. If you didn't know that, I wanted to share that with you. So let's see how these two gentlemen played it. We have pawn to g6 and now pawn to h3. Like we said in the video where Vincent played against Magnus, e4 is the most popular. Vincent went for bishop to f4, but Magnus just goes for pawn to h3. And okay, bishop to g7, continuing development, and now pawn to e4. We have castles and bishop to e3. Rook to e8, putting pressure on the e4 pawn, and now knight to d2, defending the pawn. Pawn to a6, and if black could get pawn to b5 in, then you're golden. There's nothing to worry about here. You prevent the knight from coming to c4. You don't have to worry about your d6 pawn being attacked. Life is very good. But of course, white always stops that. Pawn to a4. So if you're a Benoni player and you play a6 hoping to play b5 next, never hope that because it will never happen. So a4, and here knight captures on e4. A piece sacrificed by Rapport already, but it is a very well-known one, and you will reclaim your piece once you execute f5. So knight c captures on e4 and pawn to f5, where white has two good options. One is to play knight captures on d6, the other one is to just continue development and give up the knight here. Now, capturing on d6 can be played, but it is very tricky, and obviously Magnus doesn't like it. If you move the knight just pawn to f4, obviously. But if you capture on d6, the idea is after queen captures on d6, you play knight c4, kick away the queen, and after the queen moves, now you play g3. Sort of stop f4, but not really, as the bishop is pinned. So f4, we're going to have captures, and you're going to have this position where, you can play it with white, but against a player like Rapport, you don't want to give him this with black. So Magnus just continues with bishop to e2. We have f captures on e4, and now knight to c4. An excellent square for the knight. Plus, if black allows it, Magnus will be interested in going a5 and knight to b6. So, of course, a5 by Rapport, and now bishop to f4, putting pressure on the d6 pawn. And this is usually a problem. If you're a Benoni player and someone gets this with white, you're gonna feel very sad, and also could be one of the reasons why they call it the Son of Sorrow. Bishop to f8, defending the pawn here. There's no other good way to defend the pawn. And now there are some games where castles was played, but here we have rook to a3 by Magnus, and it is now as of move 16 that we have a completely new game. Magnus is ready to shift the rook to the king side and start a full-on king side attack against Rapport's king. So okay, knight to a6, you do have the b4 square and nicely secured. You want to get the knight over there, and then perhaps in the future even to d3. We have castles by Magnus, knight to b4, and now queen to d2. We have pawn to b6 and rook to g3. Now putting pressure on the black king. We have rook to a7, preparing to bring the rook to g7 or f7 if needed, and pawn to h4. We have rook to f7, now preparing queen to f6 to go after the bishop on f4. And while you could go with h5 right away, Magnus goes for bishop to g5 first. Forces the queen to move or to block with the bishop. Bishop to e7 was played. Bishop captures, we have queen captures, and now pawn to h5. The attack continues. Bishop to f5, and now what's the deal with the b6 pawn? Can you capture this? Well, yes, you can, and Magnus could definitely do it. But then he invites Rapport's rook to the b file, and once you move the knight, then this knight comes to d3, and it's just a very, very strong position for Rapport for the price of only one pawn. And of course, if you capture, then Rapport would already have a pass pawn on d3, so it's not the best. So Magnus instead went for bishop to g4, even though you can play this. It's perfectly fine. The engine even says that it is the best white has, as engines really like pawns. Bishop captures on g4, rook captures, and here you have to play rook to f6 or even rook to f5. But the move that Rapport plays sort of loses him the game, but it's not at all clear why. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the absolute best move for Magnus while I give you a couple of seconds. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that there's no defending the e4 pawn. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to e1. This is what Rapport missed, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just thought it was okay to give up the queen for two rooks. Either way, it's objectively winning for white. Rapport played g captures on h5, and now rook captures on e4. Rook g captures on e4, of course. Queen captures on e4, rook captures, and now knight captures on d6. And if you count the material now, 5 pawns each, a knight each, and Rapport has 2 rooks for a queen. So all in all, should be around equal, or material-wise, black could even have the upper hand, as 2 rooks are stronger than a queen, but not with the active white knight on d6, and not with the passed pawn already on d5. So here we have rook to e5, but just pawn to f4. Rook captures on d5, and now an elegant queen to e2. And there really isn't anything Rapport can do here. If you take the knight, it's a mate in one, so of course you cannot play that. Rapport played pawn to h6 to free up some space for his king, but now queen to e6 with check, and he was in this position on move 32 that Richard Rapport resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Not because you lose the rook is defended, but after the king moves, if you move here, for example, this is checkmate. If you go to h6, for example, h8, then just queen captures on h6, and if you go to h7 to guard the h6 pawn, then just knight to f5, and there's no defense. Queen captures on h6 will happen. Also, the rook is hanging. You could take the rook, but then you're down material, and you're going to be much worse, so there's no point in trying that. And if you try to defend like rook g6, then comes queen f7 check, and that's it. King to h8, queen captures on g6 with mate coming next. If rook to d7, then queen to e8 with check, winning the rook. So everything falls apart, and very quickly you will just get checkmated. There is nothing that you can do here. You could also go for some other moves like knight to d6. It would be much, much cleaner, as you cut off the king completely. For example, king to f6 and queen to f7 will be checkmate, but all the other moves are losing as well. So yeah, after queen to e6, Rapport resigned, and Magnus but takes the win both in the first half of the tournament and in the second half of the tournament. And I thought it was really, really impressive how in the previous video, if you haven't seen it, do check out Magnus's game against Vincent, where he plays the Benoni defense and completely, stomps over Vincent, and now he plays against the Benoni. Equally impressive. And yeah, these are the standings so far. Let me just show you that. Sorry, yeah, here they are. So Magnus is currently in the lead with 4 points, followed by 3 points Maxim Vachiola, Grav, Richard Rapport, and Ding Liren, and with 2.5 points Vincent Keimer and Daniel Friedman. So not the best for the Germans, but we still have the second half of the tournament. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really appreciating the Benonis in these last two videos. Hope we see more. I would like to thank Stefan Arnold Schelp, rest in peace, David Gatten, Joyful Chess Lover, Mr. Hoodie Guy, and Andreas Rosenthal for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.